So I'm sure we've all been here studying for a class you don't want to, doing a essay or project for a class you're not really interested in, a subject you don't care about, and it kind of made me think, oh, what am I doing in this class? What am I doing in college? It kind of leads to my main claim that in today's age, pursuing a college degree isn't the best use of time and resources. And really, the first and main reason really is the cost. We all know how expensive college is. I think we're lucky to go to Pomona. It's relatively affordable, but we still have to deal with debt and all the other things of cost. And this is something only in the U.S. because in places such as Europe or Australia, if college is at least affordable, if not free, which is paid by the government. And then the second reason being college is an investment, and nowadays we're starting to see the payoff it's not as great. It's not as much of an obvious choice to go to college. So the cost of college is higher than ever, and this is a trend that doesn't seem to be stopping. And it seems to affect every aspect of college pricing. We all know that college isn't just the tuition, it's all the auxiliary payments like housing, meal plan, parking, class materials, even textbooks. Just this quarter, my calculus class, we had to buy a $220 textbook and then an $80 online homework program. I'm not sure, it seems like they're trying to take your money, and $220 for a textbook is as much as I spend on gas in a month. So if I was really on a budget, I'd have to choose between my transportation for a month, going 25 miles back and forth to school, and wherever else I go, or a book. I don't know, it just seems kind of unreasonable to me. And then of course there's debt. So according to the White House, the total outstanding debt in student debt is $1.2 trillion. That's the second highest level of consumer debt behind mortgages, and 70% of bachelor degree recipients, us, will graduate with debt. And I mean, this kind of signals that we're in a debt crisis, especially if it's the second highest level of consumer debt. And according to the U.S. Department of Labor, colleges have been increasing their tuition rates nearly double the inflation rate. And this is a trend that has been consistent over the past 2 decades. So with debt increasing and tuition increasing, it's all also at the same time it's getting harder to pay for. The White House plans to decrease financial aid for thousands of students and increase federal loan rates, which is making college already more unaffordable than it is. And a quick survey, how many people plan on going to school after they get their bachelor's? Some sort of school. So I'd say a majority, and I think this is it's not a problem, but it's not as, you can't just get your bachelor's and go straight into the job market. Oftentimes you require more schooling to get, in your desired career path, and master's programs do cost more than undergraduate, so it equals more debt. And also, the payoff of college is not always guaranteed, and the opportunity cost of what else could you be doing with all the time and money and resources 4 or 5 years. You could go straight in the job market or the labor force. And back to debt and payoff. When students graduate from college with their debt, it often burdens them in their job search. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, they did a study and they found that only 1/3 of college graduates have a job related to their major. And I have an example. My sister, she got a bio degree from UCR, Riverside. Then she went to DC to get her master's in epidemiology, which is the study of diseases. And now she works for the health department for California. But she hates her job. She doesn't like being there. And literally the only reason she told me she's there right now is to pay off her debt before, interest gets too much. And so we graduate with this debt. It burdens us in the job market just for us to get low-paying entry-level positions. And I think in today's age, you can learn skills and knowledge that you learn within college and not have to spend so much money. Like I said, again, we go to Pomona, it's relatively affordable, but I think there's other means to get where you want in life. That's it.
right, well, the proposition's identified, but the language on it was a little bit awkward. I'd have to double check the phrasing, but it sounded like you had a negative in the term, in the proposition. That was complicated. There's not really a preview of what the supporting points are, except that you do say there's a cost issue, so you kind of start with that. And then there's a question about the colleges and whether or not they are, you get a good return on your investment. So there's sort of a preview, but there's no signpost on it, and they're not really declarative sentences as much as it is kind of a random explanation of what's coming up. And so I think you need to be a little bit more focused for the purpose of these presentations. I don't think there's a lot of dispute about the cost of college going up, but I did think that you did a nice job documenting the rate at which the increase is happening. That was fine. And you had a nice statistic also that talked about the number of college graduates who graduate with some kind of debt. That's fine. It might be appropriate to break down how much that debt is per person so that we could put it in perspective. Because I frequently hear people talking about the amount of debt that they might have, and sometimes that debt sounds onerous. If somebody's got $150,000 in loans to have attended a private university, for instance, that seems like a lot. If somebody's got $30,000 in loans, well, that's a car. And, people buy cars all the time for $30,000. So there's a little bit, there's a range someplace. And I think you need to tell us, where the average person fits if you're going to make this argument about the debt issue. What I think you need a little bit more information on is the lack of economic security that comes from getting a college degree. You could demonstrate a little bit more effectively that people have to get entry-level jobs. That seems mostly like that's a presupposition on your part. You had one statistic that suggested that a third of people have jobs that have nothing to do with the degree that they pursued. That's a pretty good statistic, although that's, not. That sounds like 2/3 did get a job in that particular field, and like your sister, maybe they just discovered that the field that they're working in isn't what they wanted anyway. They still have a degree. They might be able to work someplace else. Why is that a problem? That needs to be explained a little bit more. Ideas seem like they just kind of randomly are dropped in here. There's a critique of the education system. There's certainly a critique of the way it is financed and the debt issues that are related to it, but it needs to be kind of honed a little bit more and turned into something that is easier to organize, and we can see how it's building up more effectively. All right, thank you.